Hey, shalom everyone, this is Chris Shoemaker, also known as Yehuda ben Shomer, and welcome to the counting of the Omer, 50 days to spiritual refinement. Today is a very special day in being the 34th day of the counting of the Omer, which makes 4 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. Now, the theme for the week is Hod, glory. The theme for the day is Yesod, which means intimacy. So the overall theme is the intimacy of his glory. And we're going to be reading Psalm 78, verses 56 through 72. But first, I want to tell you why it's such a special day. Ever so often during the counting of the Omer, we're going to make a few pit stops because we're recounting, not only counting up to Shavuot, 50 days, but we're also recounting the journey of the children of Israel through the wilderness as they traveled from Egypt to the Promised Land. And so today happens to be where they stopped and encamped at Rephidim in Exodus chapter 17, verses 1 through 16. Now, Rephidim means spread them, and it's a contraction of the Hebrew words Raphot Yadim, which means weakness of the hands, or spreading of the hands, implying weakness of the hands. So, what are the different scenarios where somebody would be spreading their hands? They would either be spreading their hands in prayer, as in asking for God for something, petitioning God. They would be spreading their hands in praise, or they would be spreading their hands in surrender, right? So those are the three major scenarios where somebody would be spreading their hands. And two of them attribute weakness, praying because you need help, or surrendering because you can't fight anymore. So those would imply weakness. So Rephidim is kind of a Hebrew idiom for being fearful. We would know it in our culture as being weak in the knees, right? Theirs is weak in the hands, ours is weak in the knees. So what happened at Rephidim is they ran out of water. And so, of course, the children of Israel were complaining, and they were crying out and complaining against God and against Moses. And God, in his intimacy, because he was so close to the children of Israel, even in the midst of their rebellion and even in the midst of their complaining, he provided for his children. Now, he already provided a cloud to give them shade and to cool them so they wouldn't be burning by the blistering heat. But this cloud carried no rain, so they had no water, so they ran out of water. So the Lord instructed Moses to extract water from the rock by speaking to it. But he was so angry and so frustrated with the children of Israel because basically they were acting like big babies, and everybody was fearful because people were afraid they were going to die of thirst, and Moses didn't know if the children of Israel were going to turn against him or what have you. So instead of speaking to the rock as God commanded Moses, he got frustrated. He struck the rock. But nonetheless, water came out. You've heard the saying, you can't get blood from a turnip, or you can't get blood from a stone. Well, you can't really get water from a rock. A rock, by its very nature, has no moisture, unless it's porous and it just collects, rain or groundwater or what have you. So, a rock is just the most dry and dusty and hard thing you can think of. And so a miracle occurred when water came from the rock. As a result, Moses wasn't able to enter into the Promised Land. But at the same time, the intimacy of God's glory was revealed because he was glorified in the fact that he provided water for the children of Israel. And it was also intimate because it was as if he was a father just giving his child a cool cup of water during a hot summer day. So we see the intimacy of God's glory in this very thing. So let's go ahead and read the traditional psalm for the day. And it says, But they rebelliously tested the Most High God, for they did not keep his decrees. They treacherously turned away like their fathers. They became warped like a faulty bow. They enraged him with their high places and provoked his jealousy with their carved images. God heard and became furious. He completely rejected Israel. He abandoned the tabernacle at Shiloh, the tent where he resided among men. He gave up his strength to captivity and his splendor to the hand of the foe. He surrendered his people to the sword because he was enraged with his heritage. Fire consumed his chosen young men, and his young women had no wedding songs. His priests fell by the sword, but the widows could not lament. Then the Lord awoke from his sleep, like a warrior from the effects of wine. He beat back his foes, and he gave them lasting shame. He rejected the tent of Joseph, and he did not choose the tribe of Ephraim. He chose instead the tribe of Judah, Mount Zion, which he loved. He built his sanctuary like the heights, like the earth that he established forever. He chose David, his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. He brought him from tending ewes to shepherd over his people Jacob, over Israel, his inheritance. He shepherded them with a pure heart and guided them with skillful hands. Let's go ahead and close out this time with a word of prayer. Abba, Adonai God, you indeed are our all in all. And if we but trust and believe and submit, even in our most intimate and essential needs would be met. Help and enable us to fully trust, believe, and submit to you when our hands are weak. In the name of Yeshua, our Messiah, we pray. Amen. Hey, thanks for watching. Shalom, Shavua Tov.